Hello, users, and welcome to another episodic installation of Above It All, the series in which I talk about how I am better than you. Yes, you, the person watching this video. Um, this is bad news. This is just again, we're in the middle of a global pandemic here. And someone alerted me to this a few days ago, and I finally, was like, let me actually touch on this because it's just getting to the point where, especially given, of course, again, the context being the coronavirus has killed 50,000 people. We're at the point where it's like every single day in the United States is the equivalent deaths of 9/11 nearly. And that's just bizarre. Just thinking about that in broad context is just absolutely, utterly baffling. And of course, you have the President of the United States telling people to inject bleach and to harness sunlight and beam it into their fucking lungs or whatever. It's bizarre. And so the Trump administration, which again, this is one of those things people say that the president has no power, little power, or whatever. The president dictates policy, but really when it comes to a lot of small rules changes and a lot of fine print, that's the staff. This is why it's problematic that Stephen Miller, an open neo-Nazi, is in the administration in charge of immigration policy. So the staff in the Republican kind of just framework of evil, the architects of absolute evil and the demise of our society, basically are trying to remove the Obama era protections against discrimination against gay and transgender people in health. And of course, this needs to be said, those protections are good. They're not great. They're not the best thing ever, but they're good. Now, me personally, I've been to several different doctors, and some of them are just downright frustrating to deal with. For example, when it comes to therapy, it's almost impossible to find a therapist that is okay with the fact that you are gay or transgender or something. Usually they're very discriminatory, and they might not be openly discriminatory, but they just treat a lot of social situations that you may encounter that you want to talk about in therapy, and they might tell you, oh, this isn't a big deal, or this is blah blah. They just don't have this fundamental understanding, and that leads to them just caring in a very poor and very stupid way. Now, this is already, of course, with the Obama protections. So, for example, again, you don't need to be the whole thing with therapists, especially, and doctors, is you don't need to be an expert on something, but you always need to advocate for your patient to go to an expert when possible. So this rollback would allow say you have some sort of issue and it's say you have a hormone imbalance because of your hormone therapy, and you go to your general doctor, they can not under this potential ruling would be able to say, I know someone that can help you, but sorry, you're just kind of fucked. And chances are they won't say that. Chances are they'll just knock you off and say this isn't that big of a deal or something like that. And this is a thing that happens all the time. I have many, many friends and many acquaintances that have told me that they go to the doctor and the doctor's just a complete scumbag. The doctor openly mocking them for being trans. And again, this is under the Obama era policy. So again, the Obama stuff is good. It's not great. Again, it's not fantastic, but it's okay. And so this is the whole thing with the Biden versus Trump debacle, is, in my opinion, even though Biden is a rapist, fucking pseudo-pedophile piece of garbage who sniffs the hair of children, he's not going to be having John Bolton and Stephen Miller, rewriting this fundamental policy. And so, and again, Biden's going to have terrible people like Larry Summers, right? Terrible fucking absolutely devastatingly devious motherfuckers. But the whole thing is when you just get to a point where a lot of trans people over the course of the last 5 years or so have slowly been able to integrate themselves into the medical system without having to fear for this stuff. Now, again, it depends on a doctor basis, so a lot of people that have a good doctor at this point will be okay, but it's just there's a lot of people, especially with trans people, that are they come out, say they're 16, and they want to come out and they want to go through the process. They're 17, 18 now, and it's finding a doctor is hard. Like even with the internet and Google and everything, and then of course if you live in southern states, like you'd have to drive to like 5 hours away to find a doctor that's even like going to take you seriously from the get go, and whether or not they can actually help you is still up in the air. So this is just one of those things that, again, this is the Trump situation here is just we've absolutely decimated any sort of institutional, you know, civil rights backing, and like they've gutted the Voting Rights Act, and like they've done all this fucking garbage bullshit, and it's like it's like when you read an article, it's not like realistic, but I've actually lived through medical discrimination, and it's awful. And I know a lot of people that like they go to their doctor, and yeah, sure, the doctor will give them the hormones, but they'll misgender them the entire time. Like I have someone who goes to get their hormone shot, and then the doctor just calls them a man, and it's like, okay, sir, prepare for like it's just like that kind of shit is just as it is. Like that's just disgusting. Like yeah, sure, they're gonna at least give you the shot, and then you can leave, and then talk about your traumatic experience online. But now with this whole Trump thing, if this goes through as this, is written, it's going to basically say, instead of that doctor just being a complete scumbag about it, they'll just say, sorry, we don't need to help you. Good luck. And that's just the whole thing, where it's like, again, the context being we're in a global pandemic, millions of people are losing their health insurance, right? Our entire society is crumbling, and what does the Trump administration want to do? Acceleration. They just want to like, all right, I don't think the gay and trans people are suffering enough under this pandemic. Let's just make it even worse. So, it's just an absolute fucking shit show. And again, this is bad news.